How far are you willing to go? The drive, the sweat, the blood, the tears, your determination through the pain and all the suffering, people overlooking you, telling you that you're not good enough. You have to believe that you're great. And with you believing that you're great, anything you want to do, you can achieve. No one can stop you. Only you can stop yourself. Keep driving. Keep uplifting yourself. Keep going. Keep going. Nothing, and no one can stop you. That goal you want, you can achieve it. How you inspire people is going to be up to you. Keep going. Never give up.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Goins. And we here on 910 Sports TV once again. First and foremost, I want to thank God for this opportunity to be able to come on here and have these great conversations with great people. Next, I got my right hand man, Mr. Cowboy himself. You know what I'm saying? Mr. I don't know what's going on with Clemson right now. You know what I'm saying? My man Jacob the Great. What's going on, fam?
Hey man, glad to be in the land of the living. Well, that makes two of us. I don't know what's going on with my Tigers, man, but it looked really bad. It looked bad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So our other guy, Lamont T. Goins is out. I think he had a funeral this weekend, so we just gonna send our prayers, traveling mercies, and all that stuff to him, and whatever. And hopefully, wish him all the best getting back home. So go ahead and introduce this coach. You know, we get all these phenomenal coaches on, man. So yeah, we got another one on tonight. I'm excited. So introduce this next gentleman we have on here tonight.
None other than Coach Brandon Iseman. Latta High School, Latta, South Carolina. Man, a coach, a teacher, a mentor. You know, just a great all around man that impact players within academics and athletics, and really teach them how to be stand up men. And future leaders of tomorrow. Welcome, Coach.
Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, who is Coach Brandon Osmond? Because I'm pretty sure when you do interviews, when you in the media, people really want to know who you are. Being that you're not originally from South Carolina, so who is Coach Brandon Osmond?
That's a good question. Obviously, first, I'm a father. I have two little boys, and I'm a husband, and I would tell anyone they always come first in everything I do. And I feel like I'm just kind of like you said, just a mentor. I've been a guy that I've spent my whole coaching career at smaller high schools and coached in smaller towns, and I really take pride in that and being a part of those communities and using the game of football to teach young boys to be men. So hopefully, just maybe an agent of change, man, and that's something I take great pride in.
Man, an agent of change. I love that. I love that, man. So, tell me where your football career began at.
Well, I went to high school in Florence, South Carolina. I went to West Florence and played football there, and went on to play football in Fayetteville, North Carolina at Methodist University. Played 4 years there and graduated, got my degree in physical education, and then went on to start my coaching career in North Carolina for the next 4 years. And some health issues with my father kind of brought me back home to Florence and landed me in Latta and been in Latta, and this is year 11. So just kind of been a little bit of a whirlwind from college to my hometown.
Right. So the coaching career really started in North Carolina. So, talk about the
Yes, sir.
difference between being a coach in North Carolina and South Carolina. Is there a big difference?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Coaches, I think, especially at the high school level, people don't understand the time commitment that goes in with coaches that have to teach during the day. They got at 8:30 to 3:30, and then their job with football picks up after that. But I'm gonna be honest, the coaches in North Carolina, do a great job, and they are so undervalued and paid compared to being in South Carolina. And I think that's the biggest difference I've seen going state to state is just the emphasis and value that some of these school districts put on paying the people that kind of shape the culture of the school.
Oh, okay. So you went to Methodist college, man. So from 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 your experience in you in college, how did that prepare you to become a coach?
I think that, I tell young people that want to be coaches, I think that on your path, you kind of got to take two different paths as far as I think playing in college just helped elevate my knowledge of the game. There's facets of the game that you learn at the college level because it's more advanced, and from being a player in college to coaching at the high school level, there's certain things you have to simplify a lot of times at our level. And when you get into college football, it's a lot more complex and a lot more time, and it's treated like a job. And so I think just, having a deeper dive into the schematics of football at the college level helped prepare me.
Okay. So did you always know that you would one day become a coach?
Yeah, so yeah, that was always the plan. My father was a coach, so I was around it growing up. I was in locker rooms my whole life, and so it was kind of once I went in, I knew that obviously being playing Division III football, I knew football was going to end as far as a player, and I knew I wasn't going to be ready to not be a part of the game. So it was kind of instant that I knew I wanted to get into coaching just to stay around the game.
Right. So when people see you coaching back in South Carolina, what are those conversations like with some of the people you went to high school with, or even some of the people that you went to high school with that are coaching now as well in South Carolina?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry, it cut out a little bit.
I said, when moving back to South Carolina and becoming a coach, what are those conversations like with some of the people you grew up with, and even some of the coaches that you know that you kind of grew up with as well? Because a lot of times, a lot of coaches have friends that's coaches too that they grew up playing football and stuff with. And so, what are those conversations like for you and your friends?
Um, I mean, I know like as far as the guys in the profession that are coaches. I mean, everybody's a sounding board. I like to obviously you find guys that are your mentors. You find guys that are in like situations that you can bounce things off of, and kind of, I hate to say talk about your problems, but just bounce talk about the things that might be going on in your school, your program that maybe they've experienced and they can give you some insight on how to handle it. Um, obviously with my friends and people back home, it's just, I think there's just pride in what we're doing, and they're supportive, and uh, you know, like any good friend would be. So just pride, I guess.
Oh, yeah, okay. So 11 years is a long stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
I might want to call you a coach and a pastor.
I don't know about that.
You know what I
I don't
mean?
know about that.
You
I
know,
think I think 11. I think after 11 years, I need somebody to pastor me more than anything.
I heard that, man. I heard that. So man, when it when it when it really comes to the structure of a football team, and having that structure, you have to talk to parents as well. And so,
Right.
how challenging is it for you to get parents to see things your way with your position as a head coach?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's honestly, it's a challenge, and it's becoming more and more of a challenge. I think in the world we live in now, it's tough for people at times to trust people. And so I think the first thing you do is you have to figure out how to earn their trust. And the only way to do that, I think, is to have them understand and see that you have their child's best interest at heart. Um, because when you coach kids, you have to coach them hard, and you have to discipline them, and you have to correct them. And sometimes that can be misconstrued as dislike when it's never that. So when you have that relationship with the child, or have that relationship with the parent, and there's a foundation of trust, then I think they understand that you have their child's best interest at heart. And I try to preach all the time. I'm going to treat your son the way I would treat my sons, and I'm hard on my sons, so it's going to be the same foundation, but it's only built around trust, and that's the thing that's just earned over time. I don't think there's a magical formula that they have to just see who you are and know that your intentions are pure. And I think once you establish that, then I think that from there it takes off. And being where I've been for 11 years is really helped just because, I'm coaching brothers of kids I've already coached. And so a lot of the families know me and then they know my expectations and know what I'm about. So I think just that time factor has helped lay that foundation.
Okay, okay, okay. Great answer. Um. So, Coach, what what would you say has changed within, like, cause I'm always on South Carolina High School Sports News. I get the newsletter, cause I'm from South Carolina. I'm from Toledo, South Carolina, so I keep up with it. So within that 1A region, what has changed within the conference in the last 5 years?
Well, first I'll say us. We were 2A for the longest, so we kind of bounced around and we just came back down. This region I'm in is extremely competitive. I think it's the best 1A region in the lower state of South Carolina. With the likes of Lakeview and Johnsonville and Pamplico and Carvers Bay. I mean, you can go down the line. There's three teams in our region that have won a state title. So
Right.
I feel like it's the SEC, SEC of 1A football, and so it's just a lot of teams with tradition and expectation. So coming back down into 1A and being a part of it is a challenge. Like I said, people say, "Well, you excited to go back down to 1A?" And I said, "Well, it looks good to you until you jump into that region and see the teams and the tradition of your opponents."
Right. And I'm
You're breaking up. You're breaking up. Okay. No. Okay. Well,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, so Coach, with that being said, with the teams being so competitive, what do you think about kids being able to just run and go to like
Okay, they breaking up again. I don't know. He's breaking up again. So you break.
go ahead, I can.
Yeah, he break. Yeah, yeah. But I'm gonna jump in or whatever while my brother get his stuff right. So coach, so basically, Lana has a rich history. There's been a lot of great players come out of that school from that went on even the women's side for basketball, football, all that kind of stuff. So when you got there, what was the expectation when you first got there for the football
Mm.
program?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be honest. There's a great tradition in basketball there. That's obvious with Raymond Felton and those guys when they came through. And in women's basketball, we've won a lot of they've won a lot of state titles, and our baseball program's been so really successful. So I think when I got there, I felt like the biggest thing I noticed was there just wasn't a huge emphasis on football and a huge buy-in, and that was from the community standpoint. I think in a small community, a lot of times they try to find their niche and what they feel like they're good at, and so um,
Hmm.
we really had to battle and fight over these 11 years to you know swing that viewpoint and get kids interested and invested in the game of football. Um, just like I said, it even starting from the beginning, just getting the kids to understand the importance of working out in the summertime and being present, and the amount of work and effort it was going to take to elevate that program. It was definitely a task. So I said when I stepped on campus, I could see there wasn't as much of an emphasis on football as I felt like there should have been.
Yeah, which is that's kind of weird because most of the time I come from a small town in North Carolina, and most of the time, even when the football team is bad, people show up for the football team. You know what I mean? More than they do mostly any other sport. You know what I mean? Unless the basketball history is really rich there, then most times it's always football, football, football. You know what I mean,
Yeah,
or whatever. That's the only thing they got to do on Friday nights is go watch a football game. So
right.
that's very interesting. So I wanted to
Well,
ask you about Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, well, I mean, and I don't kind of want it to be misconstrued. Like they showed up. Like I think we get a great support, but I think
Mm,
that getting people to understand the importance that it takes Monday through Thursday, or in the
mm.
month of June and July when you really lay the foundation to win. I think that was the thing we had to change. But yeah, I think on Friday nights we do get great support from our community as far as coming out for sure.
Okay. Okay. So when it comes to your X and O's, I see that when I was watching you looking at your bio that you're big on the running game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like it's like a wealth of players that have contributed, even the wide receiver on the running game. So one, what is that more? That philosophy comes from that's just your philosophy. Because I know in high school it's kind of harder to kind of stick with one philosophy because every year you're getting new players in with different skill sets, so trying to find the ones that always fit your scheme is harder in probably any level of sport, especially in football. So what is that your thing, or is that just something that just kind of manifested to where it is?
Yeah, it definitely has evolved over time. When I first got there, being that our tradition in basketball, we had some really athletic, long athletes, athletic kids. So we really threw it a lot early on in the early years. Um, but I think that over time, like I said, it's just evolved into seeing the importance of we got to be able to control the game, and you have to be able to run the football to be successful. I think to be successful late in the playoffs, um, it's harder at the 1A level. It's hard to find a quarterback that can stand in the pocket and throw the football, but definitely it's hard to have a backup. And so I think that's some things I found out in my earlier years that, we built our system around a kid that could throw a football, throw the football well, but if he went down or he was injured, having that system built around him like that kind of put us in a hole. So I think, being able to find guys that you can hand the ball to and allow them to, make plays, it's a little bit simpler than trying to get them out there in space and throw it to them. So, like I said, it evolved over time, and I switched gears, and I've gone. I used to call our offense, and I've gone to the defensive side of the ball. So, definitely becoming a defensive guy, I definitely prefer seeing somebody grind the game out and keep us off the field. So, yeah, so it's definitely evolved.
Okay, now let me ask you this question. So anytime I see a team that runs the ball a lot, I always think about, well, what's the wide receiver thinking? Because he got to do all this blocking, and he like, dang, I ain't never gonna get the ball. So how do you mentally keep your wide receivers involved in the game and keep them focused because they knowing that most of the time we're gonna be running this ball?
Right, right. Well, honestly, like especially like with this year with our situation, we don't put but one or maybe two receivers out there. And our best receiver, who's a senior, also will come in and play quarterback. We get in our double wing, he plays wing, and we hand it to him. So he knows that, we're gonna throw it to him 2 to 3 times a game, but we're gonna hand it to him, we're gonna snap it to him. He's gonna get featured in other ways that gets him the ball. So I think it's just that we're gonna find different ways to get it to them. If we can't throw it to you, we'll hand it to you. So just I think as long as they know they're gonna get opportunities to get the ball, I think that they
Mhm.
they stay satisfied, so to speak.
So is this true? Jacob was telling me, I know you're 1A school. So Jacob told me something interesting. He said the population of your school is only maybe like 100 people, 100 kids or something like that, or the senior class, like 100 kids in the senior class.
Yeah, it's probably 100 something kids in the senior class. We're about 450, a little under 500 in the school.
Okay, so what are you, so as far as being coach, so 11 years into this school, what's the key to your success of being successful? Being that basically that means your pick of the litter is very small. Like you don't really have a whole lot of options. Being as it's not a a bigger school. So what is the key to getting the right players for your system?
I think the key to just it's A for me has been consistency. You know, when I first got there, no coach had stayed at Latta over 4 years. So I'm double longest tenure coach ever there. So I think I built consistency and kids knew they could trust that I'm going to be there. Um, B, it's just about building a relationship with the kids. I mean, it's about, you got to recruit your school. And so going inside that school and talking to kids that are on the fence and to try and get them out there to play that you might have a great baseball player, a great basketball player that can help your team and just trying to build relationships with them and get to know them and trying to get them to come out and be a part of your program. I think it's kind of been a part of that consistency and giving us a chance to be competitive every year.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask this question. So when it comes to what's your biggest success story with a kid or a season? What's your biggest thing that you went in and was like, "Ooh, I don't know how this gonna go." You know what I'm saying? And based on the personnel or based on just whatever circumstances, and you ended up
Mm.
having a better season with a kid or even with a pro with that season that you thought you would.
Man, uh, honestly, when the first part of your question was the biggest success story, my mind immediately goes to something. It honestly doesn't involve anything within the season. I think the biggest success that comes to mind when you bring it up that I take pride in is um, every February seeing our kids sit on stage and make their dreams come true and sign to play college football. I mean, that's what comes to mind. As soon as you said that, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And I'm very proud of the fact that in 11 years, we've had almost 30 plus kids sign to play college football. And so, out of a 1A school, out of a town, a small town with a couple stoplights, we got kids that are playing football in Arkansas, playing football in West Virginia. We got a kid that was signed with the Oakland Raiders last year. I think that we got kids that have degrees. That's success. I mean, there's a lot of wins that I'm proud of, but I think the thing I'm most proud of is seeing our kids go on to leave our town and be productive and come back to, pour into the next group of kids. So honestly, that's what comes to mind. I can't really think of a game or season off the top of my head.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip that because I know every competitor, because most players will tell you, and even coaches will tell you, they can win 10 championships, but that one that slipped away bothers them more than anything. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and I can
So
tell
let's
you
talk
that. Yeah.
about let's talk about the season that got away, or let's talk about you gotta
Mm.
name names, but talk about the player that in your mind that might have had all the talent in the world, and it made you have to adjust your coaching or do something different the following year.
Be honest with you, I think the first thing that comes to mind is probably the game that got away. My first year at Latta, uh, it was a battle, like I said, trying to get those kids on board to understand our standard and raise the bar. And it took a long time, and we finally got them on board, and we had an extremely talented team. The kid that was the kid. There was a kid on that team that is the one that signed with Oakland Raiders last year, um, and we made it to the lower state title that year, lower state championship, and we were 0-0 in the fourth quarter with Allendale Fairfax. So we're one quarter away from playing for it all, which has obviously never been done at that school. Never been in the lower state championship, and I was young at the time. I was 27 years old. So even though I've been a head coach for 11 years, I'm only 37 right now. So I think that unfortunately, that was probably one of my biggest regrets. Is I don't know if I was ready for that moment. And that's the one that probably got away that I wish I could do again because, as a competitor, you don't never know when you're gonna get that opportunity again. So that's probably one of my biggest regrets because we had a really talented group of kids and they should have played for a state title. And as I got older and I've learned and evolved, obviously I put all that on me. And so that's definitely the one that got away that comes to mind.
Okay, before I get back to Jacob, that's interesting you said that. Even though y'all were right there at the, at that point, was it because of a play that wasn't called correctly, or was it a mental mistake made on the field? What was something that made you say, even though we got here, I wasn't ready for that moment?
I think that honestly, I just didn't feel like I did as good a job as I could have putting our kids in this position to be successful. We had some really talented athletes on offense, and we should have found some more creative ways to get them the ball. to give us a chance, and we were probably a little too vanilla on offense at the time from where we needed to be, and so somebody came in with a good game plan to stop us, and we didn't adjust well. I didn't adjust well, and so that's probably the thing with that. It's just being young and not having that experience. Um, just being able to adjust in that moment, and like anything else in life, you get better, and you gain experience through making mistakes. Um, Unfortunately, that mistake is a long lasting one that will always be in my mind.
Okay. Go ahead, Jacob.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So coach, going from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side of the ball, what has been your most challenging, thing as a coach?
Mm. Most challenging thing, honestly, it's the fundamental aspect of everything. I mean, schematically, I think it's been a smooth transition for me because being a former offensive lineman, I understand blocking schemes. So I understand what the offense is doing and how they're trying to attack the defense. I think it's just the schematical aspect of maybe making the adjustments, knowing, hey, if we're struggling, if they're in a certain formation that's hurting us or they're hurting us with a certain scheme, the adjustment we need to make. I think that again just comes in time. So probably some of the fundamental aspects of teaching the game on defense, and then maybe some of the adjustments we need to make within our scheme during the game.
Okay, okay. So with that being said, now you're on the defense side of the ball. What are your three favorite defensive formations and why?
Um, so I'm definitely I'm definitely a four-man front guy. I like being in a four-man front. Being a former offensive lineman, I was a guard, and I like playing with four guys on the defensive line so that we cover those guards up and we don't allow them to freely get up on our linebackers. Uh, we run the 4-3, so I'm a fan of playing with three linebackers, just because at our level we play a lot of what I call three-back runs. So they're going to be in the wishbone or double wing or things like that. So I feel like we need an extra linebacker in the box versus the defense. Everybody likes to play with two nowadays because of the spread offenses. And then on the back end, I like playing cover four just because I don't like at our level giving up the big play, the deep ball over the top is a way to give up easy points at our level. And so we stay over the top so we don't give that up. We take that away from an offense.
Okay, okay, okay. And so, coach, I want to see if you agree with this.
All
Back when I was playing football, I didn't see that many quarterbacks in the shotgun. Now, if you look at around, high school football in South Carolina, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the shotgun. So, do you think that high school sports have became more of a quarterback league for high school students now?
right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you watch a team run the wishbone, what somebody would come as old school football. They
Mhm.
get that term that everybody thinks is bad as game manager because they're get the play in, get the snap, hand it off, control the offense. But I mean when you have a kid at in spread and shotgun, especially with the dual threat kids now. That takes a dynamic player. It takes a dynamic player to be able to run and read and make throws. And so yeah, you definitely, if you're going to be spread, you got to have that guy at that position. There's no doubt in my mind. You can't be spread. And so even at our level, if a team spread, they might not have a quote unquote quarterback there, but they're going to have their best athlete at quarterback. So it
Right,
definitely
right,
has to
right.
be a dynamic player.
And not only that, coach, when you're coming to a new school and that school is used to having, a quarterback in the shotgun, or they used to throwing passes like, like I see a lot of players from the upstate, like on the Greenville and Spartanburg Anderson side,
Hmm.
they use a double set tight end. You know what I mean? But I see players in the Midlands part of they just use three wideouts. But down your way, they might use a running back, a fullback, and a wishbone back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where
Right.
where 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 you will see them hit the tight end with a dunk pass every now and then, but you don't really never really see them throw like a spread or like a curl pattern. So with the state doing that, how hard is it for a coach to get the kids to adjust from being a predominant run team? Now they got a quarterback that you could put in the shotgun. How hard is that transition for a coach to really get the kids to really see that the transformation is changing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on which way you're going with it. I think when a coach comes in, transitioning to a spread offense is obviously appealing to kids because kids want to play wide open. They see it on TV. It's wide open. It's fun. It's fast. It's basketball on grass. So I think when a coach comes in and they implement a system like that, I think kids buy in, and that's kind of honestly what we did when I first got to Latta. We implemented a wide open full receiver set type offense, and we threw it a lot. So you're spreading that ball around, and I think kids that appeals to kids because everybody gets a chance to be a part of it, get a piece of the pie, so to speak. Um, if a coach comes in and probably tries to do the reverse, which is take a spread team and slow them down and go under center, and it's a wishbone type grinded out style. I do think that would be a tough transition. It would take a tough sell on the coach's part. So I guess it honestly depends on which way you're going with it.
Okay. So do you think in today's game, because high school football is very fast nowadays. It's quick. It's
Mm,
fast. Where it used to be projecting on what the team is going to do, but now you don't know what the team is going to do. You might get a quarterback that look like a Peyton Manning, but you might get another quarterback that look like Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick combined. You know what I mean? And so for a high school coach to produce good quarterbacks, what is that process?
yeah, it definitely takes a lot of, and I will say again, especially if it's that a spread system, a shotgun system that's gonna put the ball out there in space, the quarterback's gonna be expected to make reads and read coverages and make throws. I think that's a process that starts for a lot of people in January, with sitting their quarterbacks down and taking them in the film room and drawing things on the board and pretty much putting them through like a quarterback class, so to speak. I think that's a lengthy process. It takes a lot of training. So I think if you're going to be in that system, you have to really truly develop those guys, and you can't develop them, when the season starts. It starts in January with just teaching them and training their brains and teaching them football and teaching them reads and coverages, and so it's definitely a lengthy developmental process.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, I'll come back to you.
So when it comes to because being that you are running a running team, and that means you have to be physical. You have to be a physical team to run a ball a lot. So how do you preach when it comes to the strength and conditioning of your players? Because I know a lot of the strength and the conditioning goes into basically players taking accountability, for themselves to keep themselves in shape and get to a certain level to be able to deal with, what's going to happen in the grind of a game. Because we all know by the time you get to that fourth quarter, if you're running the ball a lot, you know what I'm saying, somebody gonna be the wore the hell out. So how do you
Right.
kind of preach that?
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of a non-negotiable at our program. You're going to lift weights, and you're going to lift all spring. It's expected, and we're going to lift in the summer, and we're going to lift during the season, and we lift on game days. So I think that just that mental aspect of we're going to get in there and we're going to grind and we're going to train, and you know there's no there's no option with that. It's toughness is not wanted, it's expected. So it's just that's the standard for us. And but on top of that, I think being in there, being in the weight room so much, I too believe in this saying that the weight room doesn't necessarily build character or build toughness; it reveals it. So being in there, you get to see who are your tough kids. So I do believe in that too. It shows us, all right, we got a kid that gets in there and grinds and works and doesn't complain and is 100% effort. That's a kid we can count on. So that we just take mental notes. So, all right, this is the kid we're gonna hang our hat on.
Okay. Now, so when it comes to the educational side, do you have a different standard than the school, or do you just go with whatever the school standard is to be able to get through, to be able to be eligible game by game?
No, we don't have like I don't enforce a higher like GPA standard on them outside of the normal eligibility. But I think I monitor their grades myself, and so I constantly do checks throughout the week. Usually every Monday I check their grades for zeros and um, you know, but I think it's something because I think that goes back to the child. I mean, you learn your kids and you have relationships, so you know what kids are your A students, you know what kids are your C students, and you know what kids are giving their best and aren't. You might have a kid that has all B's and the kid with all C's might be giving his best, but the kid with all B's might be the one I'm on. So I think that just goes with knowing your kids. So I try not to pigeonhole all of them into a certain standard when it comes to that because I think they're all on different levels and need different things within the classroom to be successful. Um, so I just kind of take it case by case and kid by kid.
Okay, so in your city, I know it's a smaller town. How much do y'all get involved when it comes to community development, community relationships, building with the people? Whether it's give doing can drives, book bag drives, whatever it is in the community y'all can help. How often or how much do you preach that?
Um, Honestly, it's probably something we need to do. Be honest with you, do a better job of. I know over the years, like our kids will go over and, game days and open the car doors for the elementary school, and obviously we try to be as present we can at the rec league and go over there and speak to them. And we just actually just did a rec league night at one of our JV football games. Brought all the rec league kids out and introduced them and had them come stand on our field. So I think it's just we try to do things to tie the community in, especially tie the rec league in, the future in. We're doing our little kids football camp this upcoming Friday, so we do different things to try and really kind of get probably more geared towards the rec football. Just tying them into our program, but um, that's kind of what we do, just tying them in as best we can.
Okay, okay. So when it comes to basically your ultimate goal, um, as far as your program, other than winning a championship, what's some of like the five goals that you've set for your program over the last several years, and have you met any of those goals?
Oh, I mean, obviously, as far as on the field, I would say that the biggest goal we have and the biggest goal I've set for this team is we want to get over the hump. Over 11 years, we've had a lot of success. We had a lot of successful seasons, but we still haven't gotten over that hump of being able to win a region title or win a lower state title or compete to win a state title. So I think for us on the field, it's about getting over that hump. Um, Off the field, it never changes. It's about building these kids and these young men and making sure that when they leave us, that they're prepared for life and they know what the next step is for them, whether it's going into the workforce or going into the military or going off to college. That goal never changes. I think that's honestly our two biggest goals and main goals, and two things that come to mind. I don't know if I could necessarily come up with five, but that's our goal on the field and that's our goal off.
Okay, I got one last question. You said something. You said y'all go over to the elementary school and open up doors. Some y'all have done that before. I've
hmm
never heard that before. I've never heard it. So what's the I guess the what's the reason behind that?
Yeah.
What is that? I've never heard that before.
So on a game day on a Friday, they kind of mesh it. They'll take our cheerleaders over there. They'll take our football players over there. They'll be in uniform, and so when the parents pull up to drop their kid off at the school, our players will go kind of open the door and get the child out and kind of walk them to school. And it's just an opportunity for those smaller kids to see our kids because they look up to them and they see them on the field and they idolize them, but they get to see them in person, have that one-on-one moment with them to say, hey, man, number one, the quarterback, he walked me into school today, and he,
Yeah.
told me have a good day, and just bridging that gap to, and I think it's good for our guys to do it and be present and you know, see how important it is that these young kids watch them and they watch their actions. And so we want to set a good example. So it's pretty cool to see. It's fun. It's kind of special to see a little kid's face light up when the starting running back opens the door to get him out the car.
And you know what? I'm gonna say this before I get back to Jacob. We get up out of here. I feel like that's something that should be implemented in more schools because too many times, especially in in urban neighborhoods, the kids what the kids little kids look up to is the street guys or the guys is people that's not doing the right things. But to see something like that for a kid to come to your school, they're playing football, basketball, or sport, doing something that's positive, then that gives that smaller kid something to look up to. Ooh, one day I may
Right.
be in high school playing for Lotta or whatever school, and now the little kids is looking up to me. So it
Absolutely.
inspires them at an early age and builds a foundation that they can say, okay, that's what's going on. Because even in poor neighborhoods, you always have sports. So it's not like you
Right.
don't have sports. So that's something I think that should be implemented more in these schools. You know what I'm saying? Jacob, you
Absolutely.
got anything else? Or turn your mic up. You think your volume down.
Yeah, I got one last question. Right now, Coach, I tell young athletes because I talk to young athletes, and I'm hoping you would agree with this. I tell them when we was growing up, coming to school, we may have two, three scouts at high school games. I said, but I go to high school football games, and I know they have 12, 15, sometimes 17, 18 scouts there. So you would say kids nowadays have way more opportunity than we had when we were growing up, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. You're saying that our kids nowadays have more opportunities than um, when you were growing up. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As far as them
Yeah.
having collegiate scouts at the games.
Yeah. Well, it's changed so much now uh, with the wave of the internet and social media and you know our kids have the ability to get their film and we create highlight films for them. They have the ability to push their highlight films out on social media. So, at such of a button, our kids can reach a college coach in Arizona.
Yeah,
Whereas, obviously if a coach's got to come to the game, it's going to be something local. But, with the wave of social media and the opportunity in their hands, our kids can their reach is endless. Um, so, if they're willing to go get it and work, they can find the opportunity. So, it's obviously in the world of NIL and transfer portal, it's hurt the high school kids up tremendously.
it has. It
Um,
has.
but obviously, this day and age, though, they have the ability to, have a greater reach with the internet and things like social media.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's all I have, Coach. It's been a pleasure, man. You're welcome
Yes, sir.
anytime to come back and rock with us. Man, keep doing what you're doing. Salute to you and your squad.
I appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
and
y'all for having me.
you can send it, and you can send any of your players over at any time, or any other coaches from the program.
Okay.
We love to interview them too. We
Awesome.
love to
Yeah.
stay involved as much as possible with your program and help it continue to grow and support.
Sounds
So,
good, man.
like I
I
said,
appreciate y'all.
appreciate you. Have a blessed night and have a successful season.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
All right, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.